This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Been away for a few days, got several things going on, but I still got my ear to the sports world. If you've been under a rock, a brick, if you will, that's going to be the theme of this little talk today. The NBA Finals recap. Looks like the Mavericks have serious problems. Everybody and their mama picked the Mavericks because they want certain players to win a championship. That's fair. But what they don't take into account is that the teams, the players on the other teams, they want to win a championship too. Especially those that haven't won one before. All the talk has been, oh, Kyrie this and Kyrie that, and it's Kyrie's time. Well, I think the Celtics got different ideas because looks like to me it's Jaylen Brown's time, Jason Tatum's time. It is not Kyrie and the Mavericks. But you have to give Kyrie and his buddies a good attaboy because they shouldn't be there in the first place. Denver, they have their problems with their young team, Minnesota, but Minnesota can't beat nobody else besides Denver. And because of that, they struggled against Kyrie, and they just wanted it more than Minnesota, and they find themselves in the championship. So when you upset your way through a playoffs, and you find yourself in a position to win a championship, one or two things are going to happen. Either you're going to continue to upset your way to win a championship, or that glass slipper is going to break. And what you're seeing before your eyes is that glass slipper breaking on the Mavericks. Now, granted, Kyrie is struggling. He's not doing what he did to get to Mavericks to the finals. Doncic is scoring, but their assist numbers are down. So what it looks like to me, the Celtics have decided, hey, let Doncic shoot. Kyrie, if he's going to be on, so what? It is not enough. Two players is not enough to take down the whole team. And what you're seeing is the Celtics, they're playing team basketball. And when you play team basketball, I don't care how many individual stars you got over here, one player cannot beat an entire team playing together. So the only thing that I see that can save the Mavericks is the NBA himself. I've told you before that there are elements that lend one to believe that the NBA is rigged. They want ratings. And sweeps are good for the winning team, but they're not very good for the league when it comes to ratings. And they don't want the Mavericks to get swept. So what's to stop the NBA from calling the Celtics and say, look, we clearly see that you guys are the better team, but I want you to let the Mavericks win one, maybe even two. That way the series get extended. Everybody makes more money. Everybody makes more money. How you doing, Jack Spear? And it makes us look like we have a more competitive championship than we really do. But in reality, that is not the case. But that is the only thing that I can see that are going to save the Mavericks. They've been hit upside the head with a brick. Now, the theme of this talk again is about brick. I was riding, I told you guys I'd do a little bit of ride share. I picked up a guy last week and he's telling me this, how he's learning about the history of music, especially the 70s and the 80s. And he starts to tell me about all the different groups he's been studying. So I say, man, you ought to get you some brick. He say, brick, what's that? Well, if you got to ask and you don't know, you just sat there and told me how you trying to educate yourself on the music of the 70s and the 80s, but he does not know brick. So I start to explain to him that brick, they're the ones who created that great tune, Disco Dash, who's been sampled by several artists, and it's always going to be popular because it's a great song. Then I told him, I said, if I can tell any of these new age rock stars, if you will, or singers, R&B singers, I would tell Lizzo to call brick. So he says, well, why would Lizzo need to call brick? Well, if you know anything about brick plays that heavy flute piccolo in the background, and it goes well with what Lizzo do with all those 100 flutes that she has. So that's a collaboration right there. Maybe they can come up with something great other than what the garbage that the music industry is putting out right now. But Lizzo and Brick, that is a match made in heaven, especially with that particular type of sound. Brick. Speaking of Brick, again, Adrien Broner, if you recall, he had a fight with this guy, this upstart guy, Blair Cobbs. Cobbs doesn't have a long record, but he did have a championship belt since 19. There are a million belts in boxing, so how much weight can you put on somebody having a championship belt? Well, before the fight that they had last Friday, he gets up in the final press conference and he starts talking about how he's going to beat the guy up outside the ring and have his other people beat up and all the kind of crimes that they committed over the years, including another type of Brick, but I'm not going to get into that. He goes on and the guy's just sitting there looking at him, like, what's this guy talking about? But what he was trying to do was rile the guy up and get him out of his element. That's what they do in those boxing press conferences, but the guy didn't go for it. But he was taking it all in. And as he was taking it all in, he probably was thinking, look, man, I'm going to kill this old dude. Sure enough, Friday, he jumped in the ring, beat Adrien Broner half to death, knocked him down in the second round, knocked his tooth out. Now, he was no major puncher, but if he was a major puncher, he probably would have got Broner out of there. But he did get a unanimous decision. And after all that talking Broner did, it didn't show up in the ring. It reminds you of a couple situations where you have a guy like Ricardo Mayorga. He did the same thing with Oscar De La Hoya. De La Hoya looked him dead in the eye and said, you talk about my family and bring my family in this, I'm going to basically kill you when it comes to this ring. And sure enough, De La Hoya went in there and took Mayorga apart. But you can't really fault Mayorga because that kind of stuff worked for him. When he fought the late Vernon Forrest, he kind of spooked Forrest with all that crazy talking, the antics he was doing. And Forrest didn't quite know how to handle that. And this is a tactic that fighters have used for years. But it didn't work for Broner. It didn't work for Mayorga. And it certainly did not work for James Toney way back in 91 when he was talking all that trash about what he was going to do to Roy Jones. Now, back then, ESPN started this juxtaposition thing where they put the two fighters side by side and they interview them. Toney wanted to dominate the whole conversation. He told him how he was going to crush Jones. Man, Jones took that man apart at his knees. Jones didn't really have knockout power at that particular time, but he had the skill to win every round convincingly, and that's what he did against Toney. He embarrassed that man. So the moral of the story, if you're going to fight, fight. Stop doing all that talking, because you're going to end up on your back like Mayorga, and you're going to get knocked down like Adrien Broner, and then your whole career, who's going to want to fool with you next? Just don't work that way. But that's what I just wanted to recap what's going on with the NBA Finals. The Celtics, I picked them in 6 before the series began. It looked like it's probably going to be 5 because the NBA probably is going to allot them 1 win. But one or two guys won't be the whole team, and the Celtics are playing team ball. It's just their time. And you youngsters who want to listen to some real music, pull out that funk, man, especially Brick. And finally, if you're going to fight, fight. Stop doing all that talking. All right, let me see what we got here. All right, we got Jack Spear. He said, shout out to Fem Germ. He's my Swedish friend who is struggling with cancer. Okay, Fem Germ, hope you get better, man. My mom passed from cancer, man. That's something you don't really want. If you got it, you need to catch it early because that's not something you want to see somebody deteriorate with, especially certain types. You get up to stage 3 and 4, there's not really much you can do in the medical profession. They be experimenting on people, man. They know that they can't do anything, but yet they want to go in and operate. And the problem with operating with somebody with cancer, once they open you up, that air hits it and the cancer spreads. So operations really don't do you any good. So hopefully, Finn Germ, you can not get to that point and you can get a little bit better. Okay, Amber McWilliams say basketball drizzy. What does that mean? And Social Beast, you got your play tags. Well, I don't know what that means. But anyway, it's been a couple of days since I've been on. I just want to come in and get a few comments about the NBA Finals. A little rideshare story about the group Brick The group based out of Atlanta in the late 70s and the 80s still got one of the greatest all-time hits with Disco Daz, and Adrien Broner talks his way to a defeat, probably the end of his career. So anyway, gotta go to work. You guys have a great day. And again, Finn Germ, keep your head up, fight that cancer, man. Do better than what Adrien Broner did. Have a great day. Gotta go to work.